So I was going to jump right into fixing the knees and sort of smoothing things out a little bit, but that level of detail, that sort of fine tuning, really should be left to the end. So you want to make sure that your animation looks the way that you want before you spend time dealing with those knees, because any change to the hips, any change to the speed of the feet or the angle of the legs or any of that stuff, oftentimes means you have to go back and you have to rebalance what's going on with those knees. So I figure we'll take one video here in between and just try to smooth things out a little bit where it looks like they need them. So in general, it looks like this is flowing okay. We could probably have a little bit more motion in those shoulders. There are a couple things we might play around with here. None of these are like extremely important, but just little things that might be nice to have. So before I change the value of the shoulders, basically what I'm going to do here is I'll just do it in the timeline actually. Is I'm going to just kind of offset them. So I'm going to take the shoulders. I'm just going to delay them one frame. So just boop, one frame over. That's it. Don't have to do anything else. The only thing I'll need to make sure is that everything is cycled. And I actually said this when we were working on the foot, and I didn't go back and refine the other foot, but on Translate X, for instance, you can see I mentioned that you have to re-loop, and you can see that foot only happens one time and it doesn't cycle anymore after that. So what I'm going to do though is now that I have kind of everything the way that I want it, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of grab everything and do curves pre-infinity cycle with offset and post-infinity cycle with offset. That way everything I know is cycling, all the animation curves that I've added. And then I've also now taken care of the problem of offsetting the shoulders here where there was nothing happening at frame 0, and now there is. So now they're just offset by one frame. I might take the head and do the same thing. Again, I just tend to do this stuff in the timeline. It's a little easier. That's shift click and drag. And not 25, but I'll move it to 26. So I'll give that one frame of drag as well. And let's just see. Okay, so that feels pretty good. Obviously the cycle is weird at this point, so I'll just give it some more time here. Right? And if you needed that to be a really clean start and end of a cycle, for instance, you're going to export out to a video game or something like that, you can always key these again at 0 and 24, and those would be proper cycles. So yeah, in general, that looks pretty good. I like the little extra bobble that we get in the head. Just a small offset, just a little bit of a change like that can make a pretty good difference. So the other thing that I would say here, though, is it's important to double check what you have going on when it's actually moving forward. So I'm going to go ahead and mute this and then just watch the walk. Watch a few steps of the walk to get a sense of how it actually moves. I'll turn off the wireframe unshaded here. Right, so it's okay. It's not great. So what we have here is the step down is really prominent right now. It's a very strong step down. Um, and the idea was I was going for exaggeration to add a little bit more weight into it, but that's just not the way that people's bodies move. It's a little too much up and down, so I'll probably just go back and just tweak that a little bit. I would say that that arm is definitely the right arm, the arm that we added overlap and follow through to. There's a pretty big snap happening here toward the back of the swing right there. Um, so I would want to go in and fix that. And but let me just focus on the most important stuff to the legs right now, and I can go back and tweak this. And not everybody will have the same thing, so it's probably not worth spending the time in the video showing you that. But what I would say here is this down position is just too far down. So let's just even it out a little bit. It's too much of a drop. It's a very sudden drop that happens there. So let me just kind of bring that up a little bit. Just kind of eyeball it by the curves and see what we get there. Right, so that's definitely a bit smoother. It may be that it doesn't feel like it has quite enough up and down, but it's better. I would say I'm going to add in just a little bit more, so try to balance it somewhere between where it was. There we go. So now we got a little bit more up and down in it, but it feels a bit more natural. The head bob is now more than what it should be because the body isn't moving up and down. This is what I was talking about how things just tend to cascade in animation like this. Is that change to the up and down of the body changes what I need to do to the head. The head is probably simple enough that again I would look for that the rotation axis. It's all happening on X, so I'll just come in here onto X. and just reduce that down. So just times equals zero point 0.7 maybe or something like that. Just kind of reduce that down enough to see if that doesn't have so much a bobble. So it still has a little bit of a bob to it. The drag is there, but it's not super prominent. These things you should definitely go back through and tweak the exact timing of that overlap and follow through just to clean that stuff up. I'll spend 1 second looking at this arm, but again, as it's not really relevant to most of what you guys are probably going to be dealing with, it probably doesn't make that much difference, but I'll just see. It looks like it's probably that shift right there. So that pop, there's like a twist in it. It's not this. It's a combination of things it looks like. So let me see what's happening on X here. It's a pretty big shift on X as well. So let me just try to diminish this end a little bit because it's really not super important to the animation. I'll try something like that. All right, it's definitely part of it is in the drag of the elbow. I definitely see that drag in the elbow is part of the issue, but it's just going to be like a little bit of back and forth on these things. I would say that that drag is canceling out a little too much. So I'm just going to decrease how much drag there is there. That generally feels like that probably smoothed us out. All right, so let's double check again. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that definitely helps smooth it out quite a bit. So let me just block this up here. All right, so once you're generally satisfied, now it's time to get into those knees. So in the next video, I'm going to take a look at how to smooth these out. And really, you can see all the pops that are happening in these knees as they move through here. You, again, don't touch this until you're really satisfied with everything else about your animation.